All right, welcome back after a brief break. We are on the topic of, well, a number of topics, but starting from the conversation, we're now focused on a specific hyper solution called Operation Stone Soup, which we've been working on for a few weeks now. And we're focused on a number of questions, and just ask questions or make proposals. It's all very fluid right now, and now is the time to really co-create this into whatever form it needs to be to take us not all the way to the end, but just to the next stage, to the next level, right? That's the way to think about this. In the agenda for this meeting, I included this concept of these cascading exponentials, right? And what I mean by that is, we're starting where we are right now, and we're stoking a particular exponential that's going to go to a particular point. Once it's reached a certain point where we need it to be, that can be the genesis of another singularity, which kicks off a whole new exponential that builds from there. So it's really just kind of like a staircase of steps, right, is the way to think about the way that's the way I'm thinking about it, if it helps. This next stage, so the very next, so let's just call it, let's see here. Okay, interesting New York Times opinion. Let's take a look at that a little later maybe, but that's good news. The end of meat is here is the headline. Brilliant. Anyway, so if I would propose that the very next stage be, the very next step, which we can do right now today, if we choose to, would be I almost hate to say this, but I'll just say, the plan, right? What's the plan? Define that. That's step one. That's what we're doing right now. Step two might be then to build out the invitation and the website materials, basically just text, for kicking off the community of communities, right? So I'm just gonna put infrastructure for community of communities, which I was thinking could be snack bar, but I'm almost thinking maybe food healers might be a better branding for that. Snack bar sounds kind of playful, and I'm not sure this is really a playful subject right now. You know what I'm saying? Food healers gets right to the point, and it's like, okay, I get it, and I'm in, right? Because anyway, so that could be this community of communities of people who are, involved in healing, right, through food, right, feeding people. Okay, and then do we simply? Yeah, I think that's the place to focus, because what I was thinking was, okay, yeah, we want the feeder communities, but we also want the conversation communities. But what if we simply just make it one community? It's food healers, and we're feeding people, and we're in the conversation, right? Obviously, people are welcome to the conversation even if they're not, in a feeder community. No problem. Welcome to the conversation. But I think it's probably better that we just build one community right now and call it food healers, right? Hello world, we are food healers. Here's our, here's who we are, and here's our invitation to you. So that's what I'm calling infrastructure. Infrastructure is way too big of a word for that. But so what we're talking about is basically a website and invitation letter to feeder communities. And step number 3 could be, you know, extend the invitation far and wide. So step number 1, complete the plan, right? The short-term plan. Step number 2, basically draft the text for the website and the invitation letter. I would also include in that, so website could be number 1, invitation letter could be number 2, and number 3, could be a schedule of meetings, both in the Solution Club and the Block Party. Okay. And number 4 could be, you know, a video, like a welcome video. Hello everyone. We are, you know, welcome to Food Healers. We are a, you know, a growing community of, you know, and that, anyway, that's the work of step number 2, is draft all this stuff. Who are we? You know, I would start with the website, because that's just saying who we are to the world. Hello world, this is who we are, right? And then with the invitation, that can build off of that. So start with the invitation, start with the website, then the invitation letter to feeder communities. And then schedule meetings, Solution Club and Block Party, that are on the foodhealers.org topics. I mean, that's where we gather to address these different topics and be clear what the topics are. You know, just don't make it overcomplicated. And also, I think it'd be a good thing to make it repetitive, get into a rhythm. You know, just like with the Divine Feminine, there's a bunch of people who just know to show up at that time, right? Because they know, all right, Divine Feminine is happening. Well, likewise, why should it be any different with Food Healers, right? And now we've already got the time slot from 11 to 1, and that's when Silas is there. And I think that's kind of where it makes the most sense to have a 2-hour all hands, you know, midday Friday, or early afternoon, or late, or, you know, early evening, depending on where you are. Speaking of which, where's James? I hope he's okay. I haven't seen James.
I was going to ask you that too. I was like, oh no, it doesn't seem the same about James.
I know, something's missing. Anyway, well, now you can imagine what it was like without you, Jackie. So anyway, anyway, that's all step number 2 that I propose. And then step 3 is actually just crank out the invites, right? So, I mean, does that sound good? Okay, so I'm ready to start. It works way better for me to voice dictate text, because I can write way faster that way, and I don't wear out my wrists or fingers. So let me just create block party number 15. All right. So when we're ready, I'll just dictate, and it's amazing how good of a job it does at really being super accurate what I say into the, anyway. So shall we, let's talk a little bit more about the plan, because that's step number 1, and this way we can think it through a little bit further, right? So we've got website, invitation letter, schedule of meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And and a video. And with all that, we just, okay, so then we'll have the basic content that we can use to then invite the world. Then we see where we put it. We email it here, we Facebook it there, we et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And that, which is step 3, extend the invitation far and wide. You know, step 4, you know, like what's next? Well, one obvious what's next is we just grow our meetings, right? Solution Club and Block Party. We just grow them and grow them and grow them, and they just become the place to hang out if you're feeding people and you're committed to everyone having plenty to eat, right? Isn't that just kind of like the natural community to go to, the feeder communities? It's like, duh, you know, anyway. And so it's like, you know, the message is almost like, look, it's Friday, you know, give yourself a break, right? Not just give yourself a break, but, you know, check in. We need to check in with each other. And maybe we have 2 time slots. So we've got 11 to 1, which could be our earlier time slot, and then another one maybe in the evening, right? Maybe 7 to 9 even. Or maybe that's a little late. Maybe, I don't know, what, 6 to 8, 5 to 7.
I like kind of like 7 to 9 because when I've been on at that time,
Yeah.
we have a lot more people. Right at that transition, we have a lot of exchange coming in.
Yeah, good. Okay, good. Okay, so 7 to 9 p.m. We've already got 11 to 1. So yeah, that sounds good. And it's just, this is the week, these are the big weekly meetings of foodhealers.org where we cover, and then let's talk about what we cover at those meetings. We cover we'll just say the community of communities. Who are we, right? We cover that. That's a topic, right? And it's an evolving conversation of who we are. What is this community of communities, right? So who we are and who we are becoming. And then I would say another topic is the plan, right? What's the plan? We talk about it. It's an evolving plan. I'd say the mission is much, well, even the mission will evolve. And I immediately have the question, I mean, is the idea that foodhealers.org is totally embracing Operation Stone Soup in its entirety? Or is foodhealers.org just working on the food part, but not the CSI or the SRM, right? You see what I'm saying? That's a question. I don't have the answer. I don't know if anyone has the answer, but let's, well, Silas registered foodhealers.org, so he's got that website. So I guess that's largely a question for Silas, but we need to be prepared for either answer, and we need to make our case for what we think would be best. I think it makes sense for foodhealers.org to take on all of Operation Stone Soup as its mission, with its 3 stages, right? With the total holistic framework, right? But within that total holistic framework that is all about, as Melvin put it, you know, whole system health and healing, vitality codes, eco-governance, etc. But I'll just say whole system health and healing. And in taking on whole system health and healing, the three most urgent things in sequence are this: feed everyone, go collectively, go, you know, develop CSI, and cool the planet through SRM. 1, 2, 3. And just make, just, you know, real clear. And I'm really in favor of that because it brings together three things that are very, very different, right? And yet all three of them need all three to be together right now in order for any one of them to be successful, right? So, yes, Jackie.
Was this at all brought up when Sailesh was there about how he felt about the rest of it?
Yeah, and it was really interesting. You know, it's all recorded, fortunately. But just to recap it, I would say earlier on in the meeting, he seemed to be more of the mindset of focusing just on food, right? And he basically said, you know, look, if temperatures are going to spike, then, you know, we'll deal with that when that happens. And I said, whoa. You know, here, this once you're in the spike, there's no pulling out of it. You know, you're toast at that point because we'll have massive crop failures, Mad Max, and we won't be able to do SRM because the world will be a Mad Max world, you know, just overrun with violence and hunger and suffering and disease, pandemics, you know, just the worst things you can imagine, right? So we definitely don't want to go there. The only way to avert that is SRM. The only way to get SRM done in time is CSI. The only way to get CSI done in time is OSS. So I see it as this just natural, but that's the way I see it. That's OSS. And now, so did Sailesh ultimately embrace it? It kind of felt like he was, you know, moving in that direction. You know how Sailesh, sometimes you kind of have to push on him a while for him to get him to move, but then finally he moves, right, in the end. I think it kind of feels like it's something like that. I even texted Guy McPherson in the middle of the meeting. I didn't let anyone in the meeting know. This is the first time I'm telling anyone other than Guy. But I texted Guy. I said, listen, Guy, we need you here now, right? There's some really powerful vegans here, a really influential community, and they're not quite getting it. And we need you to tell them what the hell is going on, right? And anyway, he texted back, but bottom line, he hasn't joined. You know, I hope he does at some point. But you know, he's got his own stuff. Let's just put it that way. He's burnt out after decades of trying to alert humanity to what's going on. You know, for me, having been at this full time since, you know, early 2014, I'm a baby compared to Guy McPherson. So anyway, so I got plenty of energy. I'm, you know, ready to go. But Guy's kind of in a little bit of a different space. Anyway, so, but Melvin talked quite a bit about the need for the holistic to address the whole of planet Earth. And it was really compelling. And he referenced a lot the work of Shelley and Jan, vitality codes, etc. Emery says, lifesavers, food for life and healing. The only thing is that candy is so well known, the lifesavers candy, and so forth. But anyway, I think food healers is a good thing if Sailesh is game. And in the event that Sailesh were not game, though I do want to think positive, but I want to be prepared for any scenario. I personally, oh boy, this is kind of a toughie because among the food healers, there will be people who just say, look, I just want to focus on the food part, right? And we don't want to lose them. You must, you must embrace the conversation, or we will not be able to proceed. You know, it's like we don't want to be like that, those creepy whatevers, and scare away all the good food healers who don't happen to have embraced the conversation yet, right? Just like vegans refer to non-vegans as pre-vegans, let's refer to people who are not in the conversation yet as pre-conversationalists. They're pre-conversation, but the goal is everyone in. Now, having said that, we can be very thoughtful and strategic about how we build out the community that's in the conversation. So I think probably the most natural way to do this, that keeps us all together, is that we just hit on all these topics, including the conversation. Of course, it needs to be there, right? We have to be looking at the whole. So there, so we have the conversation, but we don't like force anyone through any kind of like, we don't make it a requirement, shall we say. You don't have to be there for that portion of the meeting if we want to break it down. Go ahead, Jackie. Yeah.
So let me, I'm just trying to understand what I missed, so we can go forward without me having to go back and watch the video. So my understanding is, so the prediction is that by the fall, it'll be too hot and we won't be able to grow the crops to feed everyone.
Yeah, except it's not black or white like that. It's more like, we could start having crop failures as soon as the fall, right? And we could even conceivably have an ice-free Arctic this summer. I don't know the latest on that, but the overall picture is very clear. It's an exponential. It's not like a sine wave that, oh, it went up a bit, now it's going to go. No. It's an exponential. It's a brutal exponential. And
believe that it's not as imminent as we think it is, because if we don't address the solar radiation management, if we don't address this exponential heating, then our efforts are fruitless anyway.
Exactly.
See how they're not connected. We have to do that in order to complete this mission.
That's exactly right. So what makes the most sense to me, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I'm complete.
Okay, thank you. So what I think makes the most sense is essentially save the conversation for last. So within a given 2-hour meeting, right, where we bring in this community of communities, that's the food healers, right? Everyone who's a feeder is in. We first welcome everyone and we talk about the community of communities, right? Who are we? Who are we becoming? We welcome the newcomers, that kind of thing. Welcome newcomers without like making them feel pressured or uncomfortable or anything stupid like that. Okay. So communities, who we are, who we're becoming, and welcome the newcomers. Then we talk about the plan, whatever the plan is, and that's what we're co-creating right now, right? So that's an evolving thing. We talk about the mission, and connected to the mission is the conversation. And I think we, just put it out there, plop it on the table, but, hit it every time at every meeting. Don't necessarily spend forever on it, because we're here at Food Healers because there is one answer to the conversation that we're attracted to that starts with feeding everyone. Now, we may have differences of opinion as to where we go from there, right? I'm saying let's go CSI and then SRM, right? From there. The CSI co-evolves with the feeding everyone, right? And then as it co-evolves, it, you know, it immediately gets to work. I mean, it started working on SRM a year ago, right? And it's been moving forward ever since. Slowly, but slowly, frankly, you know, for lack of CSI, for lack of, you know, community. I mean, if we had hundreds of people here now, we'd have breakout rooms going, you know, focusing on each of these things. So that's why, you know, that's why we need to build out the community of communities. So we've got the firepower, so to speak, the people power, right? To then, you know, take on all these different tasks that are pending here, there, and everywhere, right? Okay. Anyway, so I would say the community of communities, so the topics for conversation in these 2-hour meetings can include the community of communities, who we are, etc., who we're becoming, welcome newcomers. It can include the plan, you know, which is an ongoing evolution and conversation. Actually, even before that, I would put the mission, you know, the mission and the conversation. I would put those two together, the mission and the conversation. And, you know, and the mission can say, we may not agree 100% on all parts of the mission, but we all agree on feeding everyone. Feeding everyone, whole food, plant-based, you know, et cetera, right? We all agree on that. We agree on feeding everyone, that's for sure, right? Where we go from there, you know, it kind of opens up. I know where I want to go from there, CSI and SRM, right? But, you know, there may be some food healers who, you know, have organic gardens and believe that geoengineering is a bad thing, right? You know, what do we do with them? I don't want to run them out of the house and say, listen, either you believe in SRM or you know, you get ejected. No. Anyway, Emery, you got your hand up. Go for it.
At which point do you figure we tie this to the press conference? And how do we integrate the press conference with the information and the invitation and have some kind of explanatory plan to, you know, for motivation, to structure some kind of a motivation for for developing involvement, you know, for people, for the facilitators and providers, the feeders. They'll need some kind of motivation. I mean, it's motivation enough, but you know, I think there's still more development that needs to be provided there in that department, and you know, gotta connect all that somehow to the press conference, because the press conference is going to be the Achilles heel of the operation. We're going to have to integrate all this to have it blast off into the universe, you know?
Yeah, totally. So I would simply add to the meetings, to the meeting agenda, the topic of press conference, right? That's one of the things that we're doing. So, you know, who are we and what are we up to? We're building a community of communities, of feeder communities, all of whom believe in feeding everyone all around the world, making food a basic human right, right? Now, well, and we, you know, we're developing a plan. We're evolving a plan We are evolving a plan to achieve this. Here's where we're at currently. And, here are some of the hot topics under in conversation. And, even here's some controversial stuff. Some people think this, we don't all think the same way. So we come to the table and we have different perspectives, different ideas. So we share all that. We talk about the mission and the fact that we all agree that we've got to feed everyone. That's the first step to, future steps beyond that, and that's where, different people have different ideas, and that's how it should be. And that's it. There's the answer, right? We all agree on feeding everyone. Let's all pull together and make that happen. In the process, we can continue to agree or disagree or converse or whatever about where do we go next. It's kind of like, we're a bunch of Jamaicans in a rowboat trying to paddle to South Florida, right? Now, when we get to South Florida, well, I want to be a baker. Well, I want to, I want to, be an Uber driver. Well, I want to go to school. Well, I want to, take care of elders okay, guess what? When we get to the beach in South Florida, you can go wherever you want, right? There's a great expression in Mexico, por mí te lo puedes arrancar, right? But while we're all in the rowboat together, let's at least agree to get to our next milestone together, which is to feed everyone, which is a pretty big milestone, right? That's our South Florida, is feeding everyone. Once we get there, all right, we can figure that out. But let's first celebrate once we've gotten there and give ourselves a big hug and high fives all around, because that'll be huge. And then see, that alone creates a platform whereupon we're automatically blood brothers and blood sisters, because we did it. And now where do we go from here? Oh my goodness, the sky's the limit, right, Emery? Back to you, Emery.
Yeah, we're out to feed everyone, and we're out to inform everyone, because we have information that needs to be transmitted some way, somehow, where it's an education in itself, right? But I'm not the one to say we're going to shove it down the throats of everybody either, but it has to be provided, because we're out to saving life, right? And there's certain information that needs to be provided here, context. We have to provide the proper context here also. It's
yeah. Now I'm gonna reference a friend of my ancestor, William Whipple, who signed the Declaration of Independence. My middle name is Whipple. His buddy Paul Revere, right? For me, that's the model. It's not like Paul Revere went door by door and said, all right, I want to have a conversation with you, and maybe even a debate. We don't have to agree. We don't know, whatever, No. The British are coming. It's just like, boom, right? So for me, it's a Paul Revere function. It's not a debate function. It's not an education function. It's a Paul Revere function. And either you hear the call or you don't. It's that simple. And if you hear the call and it turns you on, you're going to blast it out through all your channels, right? Not everyone heard Paul Revere that night, but everyone heard from someone who heard from Paul Revere that night. Okay, so it's a Paul Revere function. And that's my answer to that question of yours, Emery. Do you have any follow-up on that?
I see your point.
Okay. And so, in fact, I'll just write that down here. Okay. And Oh, by the way, I didn't mention to folks earlier, but Michael Gaio in the end couldn't make it today. I heard from him late last night about that, but that's okay. I mean, he's all right, just dealing with some stuff, and but then next week and following weeks he should be good to go. So, and you know, even that, I kind of want to have a conversation with Michael and just make sure that whatever work we do going forward is also directly, promoting this. Because I mean, this is it, folks, right? And it's not like we need to go, to graduate school for the next 10 years and get PhDs in philosophy and sociology, right? We just need to, continue this meeting until we've got it all figured out. I mean, that's just it, right? See, we are like a seed crystal of Ice Nine, right? Referencing the book Cat's Cradle. Which is a great read by Kurt Vonnegut. But the basic idea is there's this heretofore never observed crystal form of water that's like a hard plastic. But if you drop that crystal into a bucket of water, whoosh, it all just transforms into the hard plastic. And so and then an accident happens and they drop one in the ocean, and just the entire ocean just almost instantaneously, probably at the speed of sound or something, becomes hard plastic. And it just kills all life. And 99% of humanity is wiped out instantly as it goes through all the water supplies and everything. And anyway, it's just, but there are some survivors, and it's an interesting story. But Ice Nine, okay, we're creating a crystal that's just going to propagate whoosh, at the speed of sound all around the world, right? And that's the, in the American Revolution, they also talk about the shot heard around the world, right? That was the first shot. It's better to be first than it is to be better. They always hear the first shot. They don't necessarily hear the others. See, it wasn't that the shot was heard, it's that the story of the shot was spread. That's why it was the shot heard around the world. So we're, among the things that we're going to do related to the press conference, we're going to talk about the Paul Revere function, and we're going to talk about being first and what that means, exactly what that means.
Amen.
Yes, Emery.
What's the website going to be? It's going to be.
Well, if Silas is in agreement, it'd be foodhealers.org. If Silas is, yeah.
He's cornered that.
He's already reserved that domain name. I've reserved operationsstonesoup.org and like brooklyneats.net because .org was taken. Anyway, but that's just to have them in the stable if we need them.
So because if going ahead with the invitation, you need to have the web page tied down, and then introduce the schedule and then work on the video. But you have to have those components dealt with. Because we'll need tools like I look at these things as tools that we can use to facilitate the advancement of the operation. So we need some equipment, we need some tools, and these are significant tools to be used to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, just to be clear, as I've identified in the second step, the very first item in the second step is the website, having a website, all the text drafted and on its way to production. So that's the very first item of step number 2. Step number 1 being the plan, which is what we're working on right now, which includes all those steps, those subsequent steps. And then step number 3 is extend the invitation far and wide. But yeah, So website, definitely, absolutely. And in fact, I'm sorry, once we get through this process that we're doing right now and have a complete plan, I would say we're then ready to go on to step 2, part 1, the first part of step 2, which is to actually draft the website. Like we could be doing that today. So I say we continue and then we'll get there quickly.
Yeah, I can ask you something about what will the function of your radish.org be at some point? Are you going to keep that in the works as well? Because the more websites you're going to add to the mix here, the more it could confuse. Confusion isn't necessarily a good thing here, but I mean, people are familiar with radish.org. That's okay. That's good. If people are familiar with you because of the previous work that you've done, and through all the videos now that and all the block party videos that are online. But I mean, we have a lot of new vision with it that's come forward since the Dos Equis, so, and we're getting more and more information from McPherson, as to the severity of our situation as it grows, so, integrate that into the primary website. You'll have to have a primary,
Well, the way I see it, having multiple websites is not necessarily a bad thing per se. I certainly get the point about having more websites to manage and also potential confusion,
Well, that's what I mean. Updating with the necessary info, to have the proper information, the up-to-date information. Mind you, it's not a big effort to visit everything that's online, if one should choose to do that, But I see the need for a primary flagship type of website where everything is there under that umbrella. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation, and I think it's one that's probably better to hold off for a little later, and I'll tell you why. Right now, we are fast on a mission to getting food healers defined, drafted, the website drafted, the invitations drafted, and all that. And we can do that without setting in stone that it has to be on food healers. You see what I'm saying? Right? We can still draft it, and put it under, just a provisional name food healers. Don't wed ourselves to that, but focus on the concept. And also, don't even worry about what websites it'll be posted on and websites it won't, or whether it has its own website, or whether it's a sub-page under Radish or
under development
or whatever. Well, see,
so
at the present moment, it's under development, and we just leave it as such, and we focus on what I'm calling the core, right? Which is what we're focused on right now, which is what's the plan? What should the content of the website be, regardless of what the name of the website is? What should the content be? What are we saying about who we are and what we're up to? Next,
being the invitation. So
well, that's the next thing that comes, is the invitation. So part 2, as I have it drafted here, Emery, is part 2 is basically the basic infrastructure for building the community of communities. We need a website where they can go and say, okay, okay, great, this is my home base. We need an invitation letter so that we can get them in, we can invite them, you know, we need to schedule a meeting so that they can, in the invitation, they can say, oh, there's all these meetings they're inviting me to. Okay, great. I can go to that one. And then they come, right? You know, also a welcome video. So all that is in step 2. So what I'm calling that, I'm just calling that the basic infrastructure for the community of communities. So we got the plan that we're working on now. We got the basic infrastructure that we'll be working on shortly. Step 3 will be to extend the invitation far and wide, which we can do this next week once we get buy-in from Silas, right? And really, once we've just kind of shared it around internally and said, hey, this is the draft. What I like about this part of the plan is that we're drafting something, we're sending it out to people, and we're saying, okay, we're ready to ship this. Do you have any edits? You see what I'm saying? It passes them the hot potato, and it says, now give it right back, because I need to take this to market, right? Edit away. You spend all night editing, right? But don't take a week, because we need to ship this. We need to get this going. See, that's part of the Paul Revere call. That's an internal Paul Revere call,
Yeah.
right? We're calling out to our own homies and saying, hey, you know, we're ready to ship this. What do you think?
But
And if they want to say, pardon me?
more than that, though, we'll need those those invited, the ones that we've sent the invitations out to show up for the conversation. I mean, we need them to come into the conversation so that we can develop the schedule, okay, to provide the solution.
Okay. You're talking about a different schedule. When I was talking about a schedule, I was talking about a schedule of meetings that we invite them to. But then they come to those meetings so that together we can develop the plan.
That's right.
So let's talk about a schedule of meetings, right? And then let's talk about a plan, which the plan will also have a schedule, but let's come up with a different name for that so that we don't confuse it from the schedule of meetings.
We need those. We need those people to get involved.
Exactly, because they're going to help us develop the plan. See, that's part of what's the chicken and egg part of this. That, you know, I feel like the 3-year-old girl watching the bigger girls jump rope, and I'm like, how do I jump in? I want to jump in. I want to be part of that, right? Without getting strangled. Go ahead, Jackie.
And I don't know if this is pertinent to this part of the conversation, but it just came up for me, like the conversation that you were having before about whether we're launching the press conference in Brooklyn or in multiple locations at the same time. Does that affect how we develop the invitation and who we sent the invitations to? If we're just going to Brooklyn, are we focused on the invitations going to whoever's in Brooklyn first to help us start the plan, or are we doing it wide and we're just offering this invitation to everyone that's working on this in all communities? Like which direction are we going?
Gotcha. I think the best way to answer that is for me to start dictating the invitation letter. Let's start dictating the website and the invitation letter. Let's work on both in parallel, and this can go quickly. Let's just do it. So I'll tell you what, I'll just start, just to make it simple, let me just start dictating by default. And then if you have something to add, just raise your hand. And then when I point to you, say what it is, and then I'll get it in there. Does that sound good? Okay, fair enough? Okay, all right. Website, new line. Welcome to CapsonFoodHealers.org, ! New line. We are a community of communities of people who are feeding other people, period. And by the way, I'm not trying to make this perfect now. I'm just getting out of first rough draft. You know, that's who we are. Okay, great. Our mission is that we continue to build out this community of communities until it becomes so strong, comma, so powerful, comma, so united, comma, and so collectively intelligent, comma, that together we complete finally the journey of ensuring that every last man, woman, and child, I'm going to leave men for last, every last woman, child, comma, and man maybe put child first. I'm getting a little too detailed when I think anyway so our mission is that we continue to build out this community of communities until it becomes so strong, so powerful, so united, and so collectively intelligent that together we complete finally the journey of ensuring that every last child, woman, and man has plenty of nutritious, immune-boosting foods to eat, comma, ongoingly, comma, regardless of their ability to work, comma, ability to pay, comma, or any other ability for that matter, period. Just, you know. In other words, comma, we are committed to making the basic human need for food, comma, a basic human right, period. And for me, that's an ongoing trend and theme, making basic human needs, basic human rights, not depriving anyone. In addition, comma, our mission includes not only making those foods available to all people, comma, but also delivering these same foods directly to the homes of the people, period. The main reason for this part of our mission is to eradicate pandemics from the earth, comma, by immediately, quote, snapping to, unquote, a regimen of delivering food to everyone, comma, so that they can stay home, comma, exactly as pioneered, well, not exactly, I'll just put it similar to what was pioneered in China that was so effective. Similar to what was pioneered in China, comma, which was so effective, period. And by the way, this draft is long, it's wordy, it's awkward, and I don't care. I mean, the point is, you know, get the ideas out there, and then we together we work on the ideas with whatever rough verbiage, we don't care, rough and ready. And then once we're all in agreement on the ideas, the concepts, then we can polish the words, you know. But anyway, it's a coevolution. So, yeah.
When we add in the language that I just want to add in the language that it's the community of communities that are feeding, that we're not coming together to find solutions to recruit others, higher ups with money to come in and government. And that's not we're not coming together to figure out how we can recruit institutions and establishments to make this shift. Like it's got, like, I really want it to be like, this is grassroots, this is us, this is the people feeding the people.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last three words.
I just feel that it's important for us to emphasize that in some way, that it is we the people that are supporting we the people.
I got it. So how about this? Welcome to foodhealers.org. We are a grassroots community of communities. Just add the word grassroots, huh? Okay. We are a grassroots community of communities of people who are feeding other people. Our mission is that we continue to build out this community, our community of communities, until it becomes so strong, so powerful, so united, and so collectively intelligent that together we finally complete the journey of ensuring that every last person has plenty of nutritious immune boosting foods to eat ongoingly, regardless of their ability to work, ability to pay, or any other ability for that matter. In other words, we are committed to making the basic human need for food a basic human right. And I'm just going to add, comma, worldwide, comma, no exceptions, ever, period. In addition, our mission includes not only making those foods available to all people, but also delivering these same foods directly to the homes of the people. The main reason for this part of our mission is to eradicate pandemics from the earth by immediately snapping to a regimen of delivering food to everyone so that they can stay at home. Exactly. Oh, no, that's right. Similar to what was pioneered in China that was so effective. Okay, all right. And then add to that the foods that we are committed to delivering are entirely plant-based, comma, and ideally whole food plant-based. You know, that way, you know, we're definitely plant-based. We strive for whole food, but you know, if there's some ingredients that were processed or whatever, like we need flour, you know, to bake bread to feed people, okay, let's use the dang flour, right? Etc. Jackie, did you have something to add? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Emery.
I would like to see you. I mean, you're great at this, Jamen. By the way, yeah, you're natural at this. But I'd like to see it a little more simplified. You know, look at it like we're talking to a. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be simpler, a lot easier, and look at it as an invitation. Okay, we're inviting growers. We're inviting people who are involved at the ground level, you know, working with their hands, planting the food and cultivation and all that. They're the ones we want to invite here at this point. And you have a vision. We have a vision, okay? And we'd like to share the vision and invite them to become part of the vision that we're putting forward in the invitation. You know what I mean? So keep it simple, you know, keep it concise and accurate as to what the vision is and how it's meant to proceed. It has to be explained simple and easy to understand terms.
And I think I also want to, I think I also, from our conversations before, I think, especially for the communities that we want to go in and support, I think it's important that in the invitation is that we're inviting them a conversation to learn about what they're doing so that we can contribute to their efforts, so to support them with what we're doing, as opposed to we're inviting them to come into our solution and our vision. Is we have a vision of supporting their efforts in what they're doing in their communities. So we're inviting them to our larger community so that we can all collaboratively help each individual community come together. Like, we know what you're doing and we know that what you want to do in your vision. We all have a shared vision. Let's all come together, put our minds together so that we can help support one another, share ideas so that you can go back to your communities and implement these things and then invite us to your community. So it's like we're inviting you to put our heads together to create solutions, and then you invite us back in to bring these resources and tools to help you support your communities.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
two-way street. It's a two-way street, for sure.
well, what occurs to me is it's like a potluck, but a potluck of support, of ideas, of programs, of menus, of techniques for growing food, of, you know, anything. You know, it's a potluck of what's working, and it's like an open source potluck of ideas, programs, strategies. I should be recording some of this here. I mean, I should be dictating this.
I was just going to say, get that down, Jamen.
An open source potluck of ideas, comma, solutions, comma, programs, comma, strategies, comma, etc. Dot 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 resources. Dot dot dot. Which members, which member communities share with all other member communities, period. See, now we're talking. Now we're sizzling. Okay. So we have a vision. Here we go. Let me just try this. We have a vision of all such communities, comma, all around the world, comma, coming together online, comma, through video conferences such as Zoom, to share ideas, comma, solutions, programs, strategies, resources, to come together and share, right? Oops.
There's an ultimate goal. There's a
Well,
goal.
with a view to ensuring that all such communities are empowered, comma, have all the resources they need, comma, have access to all the expertise that they need, comma, whether engineering, comma, agriculture, comma, nutrition, comma, logistics, comma, financial, comma, government, comma, taxation, comma, regulation, comma, media, comma, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're sizzling. Woo! Thanks.
In there, we all want the same thing. We are all yearning for the same thing.
There we go.
Our hearts are all crying.
We are all yearning for the same thing, comma. We all want the same thing, comma. Our hearts are all yearning for the same thing. We'll crunch it down later.
Yeah.
Dot, dot, dot. Which is that everyone has plenty to eat, period. Right? And we firmly believe that we can do this better together, period. New line.
No. There's no belief. We know.
And we know that there we go. Thank you. Know that. Oops, where'd it go? Okay. And we know that we can do this better together. Okay, awesome. Okay, so here's what we got. Welcome to Food Healers. We are a grassroots community of communities of people who are feeding other people. See, it almost sounds poetic. Community of communities, people feeding other people. Okay. We have a vision of all such communities all around the world coming together online through video conferences such as Zoom to share ideas, solutions, programs, strategies, resources, et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
To share the good news. To share the good news.
Well, here's the thing. We're actually, what they're sharing are solutions, ideas, It's good news that they're sharing all these things, but what's actually being shared are kind of tangible things. Like if I share a recipe, that's not, it's good news that I got a recipe to share, but what I'm sharing is a recipe. It's not good news. It's a recipe.
But it's good news. It's good news to know that we're saving life on the planet. You know, that the ultimate goal in the main conversation is saving life on Earth, life on the planet. And the way it's going, we don't have too much time to do it. But there's good news. And the good news is that we have a vision to try to accomplish that. You know what I mean? We have to get that vision across.
Yeah, no, I think we're doing it. I think we're doing a great job of it right here. And all this, let's see. And I it didn't transcribe it perfectly, but it's something to the effect of to ensure that all such communities are empowered, have all the resources they need, have access to all the expertise they need, whether engineering, agriculture, nutrition, da 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 da. We are all yearning for the same thing. We all want the same thing. Our hearts are all yearning for the same thing, which is that everyone has plenty to eat. And we know that we can do this better together. In addition to sharing such specific assets and resources as the above hyphen listed, comma, we can do some other really, really big things together, Colin.
Can we change it to will, not can?
Thank you. We will. Beautiful. We will do other really, really big things together. We will develop a global strategy.
We are.
And plan. Thank you. We are developing. Thank you. We are developing a global strategy and plan to ensure that we meet our goal as quickly as possible, comma, to minimize suffering. Should I say unnecessary suffering? Anyway, it's kind of obvious. Anyway, we'll compress it all down later.
I would say suffering. I would say fear.
To minimize suffering and fear.
Let me see. Despair.
Okay. And despair, period. To minimize, I'll just say to minimize unnecessary suffering and despair. Unnecessary. We are preparing a global news media and social media blast, inviting all people who are not currently participating in a feeding solution of some kind or other, to get involved, period. And the entry point to getting involved is the Planetary Collective Intelligence network of feeder communities, period. Foodhealers.org, exclamation point. No, I'll say which we are building here, which we are. Anyway, that's part of the details that we can finesse later. But we're basically saying, we're getting together to share all these things that are, essentially within the current paradigm, right? Like, hey, I need some resource for delivery, this and that. Okay, oh, here, oh, great, okay, good, check. Okay, but we're still living in this world. The big things that I refer to are kind of out of this world. You know what I'm saying? They're next level stuff that no one has dealt with up until now. And those two things, and I've got two things in that category of out of this world. One is global strategy, and the other is a media blast, news media and social media blast. All right. And there's probably other things that we can develop out of this world. Collective superintelligence. Now, do we spill the beans on that here? Or do we, keep it kind of food focused? And, because we can always have, an about us page where we go deeper, right? About us, yeah, we're doing this, but, we're really focused on the food part here, but we also see a bigger picture. And we also address these other topics at our meeting. So we don't make any secret of it. We just don't put it front and center on the homepage. But we put it in the About Us, which is kind of the next page you naturally read anyway. Who are these people? Cool idea, cool mission, but who are you? Right? Tell me more. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Keep it food focused, I guess. Bring them into the conversation and then go from there.
I think there was a way that we could develop an invitation to invite like other collective intelligence communities that may be focused more on very left brain kind of solutions, to understand that this is the most direct, simplest, quickest solution. How do we invite them when they have other ideas as to these solutions?
Yeah, no, I totally get it, Jackie. Here's what occurs to me. Since you asked that question, what occurs to me is that we could form like a trifecta of, communities of communities. There's the community of feeder communities, the community of collective intelligence communities, right? And then the community of cool the planet communities, right? Because what are the big three? The big three are feed everyone, go super intelligent, and cool the planet. So we could have three different communities of communities, each, so excuse me. but then the three communities of communities. Oh my goodness, James is here. All right.
Yay, James. Now it's a
James,
Yay!
welcome back. Woo! All right. James, how you doing?
Not too bad, no, after that day of escapades. I had one of those Murphy's Law days, you know, whatever can go wrong, fucking went wrong, put it that way. But basically, I just had my breakfast now, put it that way. I went out the door this morning because I don't have a computer, so I was using my phone all along. My phone went fucking haywire last night, so I went out the door and went to a phone shop to try and get it fixed. I ended up having to, doesn't matter, long story short, I ended up getting a new phone, getting all that sorted, took it home, had to get someone to sort it out for me. It's still, even the new phone wouldn't work. I gave up. I just threw it all up on the table earlier on and I said, right, I'm going to bed. I'm having something to eat and I'm going to bed. And my old phone came on its own. Then all of a sudden, on its own, it just worked. So anyway.
That was us. That was us just saying, you know, we need James here. We just channeled it all, and it went all the way to your phone in Cork City, Ireland. So
Well, something worked in here because nothing else could work on this side. Go and carry on. I won't interrupt you.
Okay. All right. Great to have you back, James. Awesome. So where we're at is we're mapping out kind of it's just sort of the next level of refinement on what we've been working on with Operation Stone Soup. And at this level of refinement, we're focusing on the community of communities that we want to build, right? And we're focusing, we're right now at the point where we basically identified 3 different communities of communities, right? So 3 different groups of communities. One group of communities is what we're calling the feeder communities. Communities that are actively engaged in feeding others, right? And then another community of communities is communities of collective intelligence, you know, a group of collective intelligence communities. And the third is a community of cool the planet communities, basically. And you know, we've been mainly focused on the feeder communities that are feeding other people, right? So you got food, collective intelligence, and cool the planet, right? And in a sense, we're doing 2 things simultaneously. One is we're empowering the feeder communities to come together and, for lack of a better word, just optimize their feeding, you know, grow, expand, perfect, share information, share resources, share ideas, share projects, collaborate, et cetera, share expertise, right? If at any point you don't know what to do, it's because there's something you don't know. If you knew exactly what there was to do, you'd simply do it, right? So if you don't know what to do, it's because there's something you don't know, right? Tap into the right expertise within the community of communities, right? And then you can get help, and then you'll know what to do, right? So we're simultaneously kind of focusing on the feeder communities, helping them network and share. And then it's almost like a next stage thing almost, would be to then get those feeder communities to mix it up with collective intelligence communities and SRM communities, because before that, it just seems kind of premature, right? It's like trying to get your 4-year-old to go out on a date or something. It's a little early for that. Okay, come over and play with blocks and have some, coconut frozen whatever. Okay, fine, but all right, keep it at that. So I'd say for us, the first stage is just focus on the food part, bring together these feeder communities. That's really our kind of bread and butter for Stoops, bread and what do you call that nice vegan butter? Vegan butter. Okay. So all right. By the way, we've been at it for about 10 hours and I haven't really had a proper food break. So, I just kind of feel myself, and I'm hungry and I'm just kind of feeling myself slowing down a little bit. Shall we take a food break? And welcome back. So, just in time for a food break. So I hope you're hungry. How are people feeling about that? It's 4:15 right now.
Oh, hi. I just got the wrong time. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Welcome back, so.
Well, I have my camera off because I am eating at the moment, because I'm only having my breakfast now, and it's 10 to 12 at night. So carry on, have your break there. I'm eating as I'm listening anyway. But
okay, perfect. Well, look, people can keep sharing if they want. Shall I pause recording or keep recording? Pause. Okay, let me pause.